I have come on to say that even with it being August now, I have still come on just to show a little bit more about some Santa carving that I'm going to do and how it's going to come out. And what I have to show you all about this is that there is a next step here. It's going to be to kind of cut along this line in the front and shave along here to kind of make out the part of the face that's the nose and above. And this is how it is going to go. It's going to be a little like this. You see how I got off this much here, and we're going to try to do this with all 10 of these today. And as for how it comes along, you can see that it comes along just like this, and probably go a little bit further up, a little further ways like this, all the way down to that little mark that we put down there for the end of the nose. This is the Santa we've all looked for, the one we've all waited for. Comes a long way and takes its shape in us and makes a good little world that we see. Just to come on here and make this little place here. And there's quite a few things we're going to talk about as we go about this. I'll tell you all today, I had my doctor's appointment with a nurse practitioner who subscribes all my medicines for my autism spectrum disorder and my ADHD. And then I kind of discovered that there had been something I'd been needing to do. I tell you, so much going on. I just put it off for so long, trying to catch up a lot of things, busy, and realized I needed to go to LabCorp and get some blood work done for the Risperdal that I take. Luckily, I was able to find the papers that were sent to me in the mail so that I could go down there and drop them off, get registered, and get the work done. And so that's going to be a little more how that is going to go over a little more time we got in our hands. Busy times, take care of things, and this little work that I do is going to mean a lot for somebody in the future. It really is. For the things we must take care of in life, we take care of them to a good degree. The work comes and the work goes. And I just knows today, I've been doing a little work trying to get some sewing patterns out. I've been kind of working along on some creatures I've been making. It's been a real busy and hectic time coming along with those. But the work just made it quite a long ways and took care of quite a few things. And there's a few things in life that I'm coming along to. They don't come all at once, but they come little by little. Some of these stuffed animals I make, you probably heard how I take all the old pairs of jeans and all the old denim from the old pairs of jeans, and instead of throwing it all away, I try to recycle it. I recycle it into these little animals that I make. once the jeans get old and get to where they're just no longer able to be worn, the material comes off of them and it gets made into these creatures I like to make. Creatures can be very meaningful and stuff. I mean, the first thing I ever made out of it was dolphins. I went from dolphins to making whales. Maybe here or there, probably made a lizard or two or a bird or two. Those were not the best ones, not the ones to come out the best. I took my patterns a little bit further, tried out making a lot of other things. I'd say a lot of these other things, they came out pretty good. Liked how they turned out. Can't remember all the order I did them in, but I think that after I did the whales, then there was another thing I tried. I tried making what to me I thought was sea lions to the best of my image, but people thought they looked more like seals. It turned out that I did a little research to find out what the difference is between what sea lions and seals really look like, so I started to figure out why they turned out to be seals instead. I kind of came up with a little pattern for a stingray and made a few of those a time or two. But as I got further, I looked online at patterns of walruses, made my own walrus based on those. I made my own pattern for a duck-billed platypus, for a peacock, for a mother opossum with her babies on her back, to name a few. It wasn't that many years ago that I had a pair of pajama pants get torn by the knife. They were made out of fleece. I used that fleece to try to make the pants of a couple of denim jesters that I made. Jester clowns. And those were just something which I'd say, came out to be quite a bit of work. And for all the work they were, despite how small they were, I wouldn't have been able to sell them for cheap if I tried to make very many of them. Given the type of work they are, people wouldn't want to pay the price for the work, with the object being as small as it is. So I kind of didn't take that too much further. There came a time when I came up with a pattern for a pig that I made. A lot of the pigs that I made them out of old jeans that were covered in dirt and mud and stains and coffee stains and things like that, kind of make them look like natural dirty pigs, like pigs that have been rolling around in the mud or something. It's kind of what I liked about them. Sometime around that time, when I got around to doing more patterns, I even downloaded an elephant here or two, and the first elephant I ever tried to sew, it didn't come out the best it could ever be, but according to that pattern, I mean, there was a certain fabric that pattern was designed for. I don't know what it was, but since I wanted to make a few more out of the jeans, I decided to rearrange and retranslate the pieces of the pattern to kind of make the pattern where it would be better for trying to make out a denim. And the way I kind of changed the pattern around, I would say that it truly worked. There came a time later on when I decided to make a new monkey pattern. And how I did that, I sort of like made the monkey's tail off of the elephant's trunk. Tried to make it about the same shape, size, and length, and same curve and all. So that was how that curve came along. Came along so good, and Then I kind of tried at first making it a little baboon-like type, but it kind of turned out that the butt in the back, it was kind of hard to sew that and really make it come out the best it could. So I decided to retranslate the pattern and leave that part out. I think it came out better that way when I sewed it for the first time. And over this past weekend, I've been taking some of those same patterns and turning them into other things as well. Over that time, I kind of came up with a way to take the monkey pattern and retrace it and make a pattern from which to make cats. I would say that I haven't cut out the fabric pieces for the cat yet, but I'm hoping it's going to come out good when I do. I can just already see or envision just how it's going to come out when I finish the first one. It was quite a task and quite some work, quite exhausting. I needed a little break from it to get back to carving some stuff, so I decided today that I'd carve along on these little Santa figures and come on here to tell you all how it's done, tell you all a little more about it. Sometimes the work gets pretty hard here and there. I have kind of decided to, at certain times in my life, kind of give my fingers a little rest here and there. It just so happens that I just know so much how to do so much detail in things. That's what I figured out my best gift was. In my life, I've tried to be gifted at so many other things. I've tried to do so many other things. I've tried to practice so many other things. I've tried to get better at so many other things. Some things were just harder to work at because they might not have been the things I loved to do the most. They might not have been the things where my best gifts were, where my best talent was. I've known people who could sing a whole lot better than I could. There's been times I've tried to be a singer. I've tried to play all kinds of instruments. I've tried to get places with it that I couldn't go. And what I find out is there's just some people who they enjoy it that much, but they might be able to sing such dynamics or play such dynamics and really do it all and put so much more detail and work into what they do. But as I've discovered over time, my area was probably so much more in the art industry. I couldn't realize it for so long, but there came a time when I finally just saw what I was able to do, saw what I was capable of doing, and applied more time to that. Sometimes a little work here and there can mean a lot to some people. There's a lot of things I do that in my intentions I can try to brighten anybody's day that I mean to. Sometimes just the things we do, they brighten the days of many more people. I remember the time I was called to serve the Lord, I tell you. I was saved when I was only 11, but I was much older when I finally got called to work for God and to really be in ministry and not really to preach or to teach, but I mean, I wrote a lot of songs, played them, sang them. I think about the fact that I was 19 when I started kind of writing the songs out of the Bible. Did my own kind of secular songwriting for years before that, but whenever it came to really putting the Bible to it, once I started studying the Bible, that was when it became the theme of my music and started to become the theme for what I wrote, played, and sang, and as it came along, it just did a lot of work in others' lives. I was 20 when I got up to sing in church for the first time, 21 when I got up to sing at a missions conference for the first time, and that first time around, I wasn't able to see everything happen. I was kind of having to concentrate on what I was playing and singing and couldn't see what was going on in the sanctuary or out in the auditorium, out in the congregation of people who were watching or in the assembly, but I heard all about how it was. People there, they've known me since I was little. They've known me since I was young. They never thought I'd get up there to play and sing like that. But I got up and sang a song I had written called He Came Not to Condemn the World, which was a song to which the verses were about the woman that was taken in adultery in John chapter 8. And I always heard all about all the ways it brought tears to people's eyes, and I think of one preacher in particular. It's like it makes me think of what he used to say. Like when I was little, I'd get real hyper and restless in church, and he was always thinking, oh, I'd like to beat him half to death. How he perceived me. As I got older, he told me the story about that, and how he heard my song and it brought tears to his eyes, and how it was like in his younger days, the Lord said to him, never underestimate a wild child. He just might bless you one day. And I'd tell you, and this preacher, his name was Wayne Logan Hart. And I mean, he's passed away now. He's with the Lord now. But during his time on earth, it's kind of what he'd say. And just those words. And a lot had been going on in his life that time, because it had been years since he had attended the BFM conferences. BFM was the missions work for which the conferences were with, Baptist Faith Missions, and something he told me a few years later was what a blessing coming back was to him, because it had kind of been a time in his life when something real personal had been going on with him. It was just a real difficult time over those several years, and as of this time, when he came back and saw that, he told me one of the most blessed things was when my uncle and I came up there to greet him as he came in, and when he shook my hand and heard my name and knew who I was, remembered who I was, and told us that that was really a blessing to him. And makes me think that evening when I came up to shake his hand, he probably didn't think that a couple of days later I was going to get up and sing and he was going to be blessed. But I'll tell you, it was only the Saturday after that I started going to Long Island and to Long Island Studios, which was a studio here in Lexington, and did my first recording session. And as I recorded the song, it kind of came out fine, and then it was like a few months later, in January of the next year, I was out there making copies of the song and distributing them, and people loved it. They enjoyed listening to it over and over again. And I'm here to tell you all that the talent of the world can never be enough. Certainly, and now, as I'm coming along on this, I have to close the video now, but there will be many more things about this and how it went further to tell you the next time I come on and start to carve a little, show you all some steps. and give y'all more commentary on life and how things are going for it. God bless you. Amen.